And this is where I think 75 Hard has really become a hugely important aspect of my life. So if you're not familiar with 75 Hard, it's a program that Andy Frisella, the CEO or First Form, came up with. So he has a really good podcast, the MFCEO Project, as well as Real AF. Hi, I'm Rick Vaza, and this is the Drive Podcast, where we talk about business, acquisitions, general investing, and a little bit of real estate. But actually today I'm going to talk about the mindset piece of it, because I was talking to a buddy of mine about recent experiences we both had completing 75 Hard, and really how much that's shaped a lot of what we've been doing with business recently. So thought it was a helpful and valuable topic to approach. So if you're not familiar with 75 Hard, it's a program that Andy Frisella, the CEO or First Form, came up with. So he has a really good podcast, the MFCEO Project, as well as Real AF, and basically came out with this program that's become very popular. So I did it back in the beginning of the year and completed it basically from January through March. And the concept of it is mostly, I think a lot of people think of it as like a physical challenge, but in reality, we were talking about it's definitely been more of a mental thing than anything. So what you have to do is follow a diet. There's no like particular rules to the diet. It's more or less an honor system, but you know if you cheat or not type of thing. No cheat meals, which includes no alcohol, which was an important one. That was actually, in my opinion, probably the easiest one. I think you agreed with me. Then 2 workouts a day, both are 45 minutes, one of which has to be outdoors. That one was hard because I did mine during rainy season, which you don't think we have in San Diego, but I had to run in like the pouring rain several nights. But there are actually some cool aspects to that too, which I'll talk about. And then read 10 pages of a book each day, which I'll talk about. And then drink a gallon of water. Yeah, drink a gallon of water, which actually when you're working out that often wasn't very hard either. Although I had to go to the bathroom a lot, all the time. So anyways, how does this relate to business? Why it was important? All that good stuff. So this was awesome. I talked to my wife about this. I want to do this every year to start the year, because I think there was really no better way to really set the framework for the beginning or for the whole year, but by starting this out in the beginning of the year. So it's 75 days straight of all of those different activities. So it was tremendously valuable because, one, just like committing to something like that for that period of time, there's just a self-confidence boost that you get from basically making that type of commitment and then executing on it every day. And then how that translated into the business was really, it impacted in so many different ways. But for one, figuring out how are you going to fit all these things into it for starters, which made me by force have to be a better delegator. So getting things off of my plate to the specialists on our team who should be handling that, which is something I still have to continue to get better doing. But it was great to be able to see how our team was able to elevate their skill sets as we put them into positions to be more empowered and more successful, as I took a step back on some of these things to focus on other areas. So that was super helpful. And then obviously, physical fitness, not being tired, from literally no drinking, which was great. And then just keeping your body in the right state of mind. You just felt like you're razor sharp at all times, which was really helpful from a business standpoint. And then the book that I read, so I read Think and Grow Rich actually a couple of times, because I think it was really valuable, especially as you're early in this business journey. The concept of the book is to start to understand how visualization impacts you, and you really could start to see the success of the business before you even get there. And I spent a lot of time as I was reading that book really practicing what it was preaching, and writing down, what your successes were going to be, really putting forth into mindset all these different things, which was awesome. So as we were talking about, what that meant for our businesses, and it was funny because we couldn't really put a fine line on it, but what we were really coming to the conclusion is there's a certain aspect of when you're doing something like that challenge and you're giving it your all, and there's that certain mindset shift that you have of like, I'm going to execute on this, and then it spills over into the business. So what we were seeing was kind of this ripple effect, right? Of, hey, I have this, kind of mindset shift now that I'm going to basically be an animal and just get after it every day. And then that doesn't just turn off, right? So you're kind of continuing to execute on these things, which, all of those things I mentioned are outside of business. But obviously then when you're at business, you're kind of in that same mentality state of just execute. And so, it was amazing as we started the year, we were seeing these successes and everything. And that's not to say it was all because of me by any means. We have an amazing team, but it was able to see, like, as I was saying, delegating and giving the team opportunities and things, being present, being focused and sharp, it really does make a huge difference. So I tell everyone I can to try it and give it a fair shot. My brothers were the ones who they did it first, and then they guilted me into not being the loser brother who wasn't able to finish it. So I then did it, and have told a few friends since who have now completed it, which is really cool to see, how it's spread. Yeah. So as I mentioned, my brothers had gotten me into this, and as I continue to listen to Andy, I've been listening to him for years, but he brought up this concept, and this is where I think 75 Hard has really become a hugely important aspect of my life, and I'm so glad that I did it, because when you're in the ownership space, you're typically your day-to-day, you, especially with us, when we have really good managers in place and we have really good team members, the stuff that's coming to me is usually problems that have already gone through one or two layers, right? So it's coming to me, it's really because someone else hasn't been able to figure it out, or it's a large enough problem that it now needs the owner's oversight. And, I think when you're early in your business ownership phase, that can be really daunting and frustrating and exhausting. And it's easy to fall into this victim mindset of like, oh God, here we go again, another problem. And what I love about Andy's approach and kind of what 75 Hard did was it reframed that whole dynamic where it's like, yeah, man, that's what you signed up for. You signed up for dealing with the problems. Of course, that's what's coming to you because you have really great people who are addressing the things as they come up that they can address. And they're coming to you when there's something that is a problem that needs your attention. So no shit, duh. Like that is literally your day to day is complex problem solving. And for me, like when that switch flipped and I stopped having that, like, because you go through the honeymoon phase of acquiring a business where you're like, oh yeah, everything's awesome, right? And then you get to this phase where you're like, oh man, this is really, really hard. Like, this is way harder. There's that graph, right, where it shows like you first get into something and you think you know everything, and then you realize you don't know anything at all the more you learn, and then you're kind of I feel like I'm now coming back on the upswing, right? But through that down period, it can be daunting where you're like, God, like what, I feel like I'm just firefighting every day. And I think this was what my point with all of this was 75 Hard and to the other aspiring entrepreneurs who may be viewing this is that is what you sign up for. That is the point of you as the owner and what your role is. Like your role obviously is to steer the direction of the company, but also to step in and deal with things when they get outside the capabilities of your potentially amazing managers and leaders that you have. And if you stop thinking of it as poor me and oh my God, I can't believe I have to deal with this, but like, hell yeah, bring it on. Like, what are we going to do today? And, what challenges are we going to conquer and what problems are we going to solve? That's a totally different framework and way of approaching it that energizes you and keeps you moving forward as opposed to, making you a whiny little pain in the ass, So, anyway, so I love it. I highly recommend it. I'll do it again next year, the year after that, et cetera, on and on. I hope to even do the whole Live Hard program. I have a problem with the cold shower stuff, but I'll try it out. But anyways, it's a great program. And if you're an aspiring entrepreneur or thinking about it, definitely highly recommend it. I know some people who would agree with me when I say it's kind of one of those life-changing things that you won't regret. So I hope this is helpful. If you enjoyed it, please share it. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Help us grow the podcast in our early phases. We'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.